So tomorrow, December 6, 2019, Mike Francesa will once again step away from Afternoon Drive on WFAN radio, as he will move into a unusual new role. So this time he's leaving, but he's not leaving. Let's break it down with what's happening, because so many people seem to be confused, or they're sending off goodbyes, or let's just clear things up. Francesa is not going anywhere. He's not retiring. What he's doing is he's simply leaving Afternoon Drive on WFAN radio. You will no longer hear him from 3 to 6:30 on 660 or 1019. Which is a pretty big deal, because this is it. It's safe to say that this is it. You will never hear Francesa again, ever, on Afternoon Drive. Steady, ever. Now, that's not to say he doesn't come back and substitute or fill in one day in the Afternoon Drive slot. You never know with Francesa, or Entercom for that matter. But Francesa is leaving Afternoon Drive tomorrow, and it is bittersweet, because I think it is time for something new. And the second stint has not been good. And we talked about it when he came back. And I'll never forget the day he came back. It was in the 92.3. I was in the 92.3 recording studio upstairs. And Francesa was downstairs doing a show. And we spoke about it. And we spoke about the morale of WFAN. And we spoke about that, would he lose a ratings book to Michael Kay? Would he lose a month to Michael Kay? And he's lost more than a month to Kay so far. And he's on his way to outright losing a book to Kay for the first time, which is sad, because it was just so legendary. I remember the rant that Francesa went on that day after Russo was crapping on him at Sirius, and it was just after the breakup, and he looked in the eyes of the camera on Yes, and he said, "You'll never beat me. You better come with more than pea shooters back after this." And it was just a legendary moment, and to think now that means nothing, because they did beat him. You know, he went out on top. And he retired the first time without Kay and LaGreca and the other stooge ever beating him. Now, they were coming close to beating Francesa. And he retired for the first time. So that should have been it. Because you saw, as the first retirement was going down, that the Kay show was inching closer. And I really don't think that it was because the Kay show is a far and away better show. Because the Kay show was at its best when it was Kay, LaGreca, and Rucco. Not Kay, LaGreca, and this America-hating stooge that he has that knows nothing about sports and is a hack. I think it was more Francesa's show sounding boring and Francesa sounding bored and tired. Now, when they brought him back, they really should have put him with a co-host. They should have found somebody. Anybody. Tiki Barber, Malusis, Kim Jones, Jastrzemski, anybody. Bill Simmons. They should have put anybody on with Francesa. They should have gave Francesa a partner. They should have gave a little bit more juice to the program. Just wasn't the same when he came back. Now, don't get me wrong. When I leave for work every day, I still turn on Francesa. But it is just not the same. It's like when I would listen to Imus towards the end. I would listen to Imus because it was Imus. I grew up listening to Imus. But it just wasn't the same. And it's the same thing with Francesa. It's just not the same. It's not as bad as Imus at the end, but it just isn't the same. And it's not like he's pulling in a 2.5 in the ratings. He's still pulling in strong ratings. The K Show has just picked up. It's picked up in the ratings. And I do think it was because Francesa's show sounds old, K's show sounds young. And that's the problem with WFAN. They gotta try and find a way to get and sound younger. Don't get me wrong, I love Chris Moore and Eddie Coleman. But sometimes they drag. And there's no worse 4 hours of radio on Saturday mornings from 6 to 10 than Richard Neer. ESPN's got some good programming on Saturday mornings. The Fan has Richard Neer from his basement in North Carolina. Yeah, we got the phone lines wide open. Nobody, I mean, if you put 100 people, about 98 are taking ESPN radio on Saturday mornings over WFAN. Now, that's Saturday mornings, but still, it's just a trend of the Fan sounds older, ESPN sounds younger. Now, they haven't made a dent in the overall ratings for the stations. ESPN is still near the bottom of the overall ratings. FAN is still in somewhat good shape. And they do have the Yankees, which helps, and they have the Giants, and they have the Nets. ESPN Radio, really, they have the Knicks, the Rangers, and that's it. They have no baseball. I thought ESPN did a horrible job of letting the Mets go to 880. ESPN should have been all in trying to get the Mets on 98.7. There was a golden opportunity wasted. But the issue is Francesa, and the issue is, someone asked me this the other day, does his legacy get tarnished when K beats him? And I don't think it does. You know, and I'll this is a question maybe that a wrestling fan would appreciate. Is The Undertaker's legacy tarnished after he lost to Brock Lesnar? I don't think so. I think you still think icon and legend when you think of The Undertaker, and he had a phenomenal career. And the same can be said for Francesa. Is it going to suck? Yeah. It's going to suck his last book he loses. But at the end of the day, he had a hell of a run. I mean, he had the NFL Now on Sunday mornings. That was successful. He had Mike's On, or was it Mic'd Up? The Sunday night show he did on NBC, that was a television show. That was a phenomenal show. Obviously, Mike and the Mad Dog. Obviously, the success that he's had solo in Afternoon Drive. He had the show at the Garden early on. He would do the shows from MSG after Ranger and Knick games. He's been on CBS studio shows. I mean, he's had a phenomenal career. You can't take the success away from him. Does it hurt? Yeah, it does not tarnish. And by I mean hurt, I mean it hurts to see him lose. I don't think it tarnishes his legacy. And listen, you have people that are jealous of him, like the morning show. I mean, I've never seen someone as jealous as Boomer Esiason of Mike Francesa. It's honestly, I have to change the channel. Now, I do listen to Boomer and Gio. I honestly listened to Greg Giannotti and Boomer for the first two shows, and I gave up. Because his first two shows, literally, he was just making fun of Francesa. It was just, out of a 4-hour show, 3 of it was making Francesa impersonations. And Boomer going, I mean, it just wasn't good. Then after a while, I turned them back on. And Giannotti knows his sports. And Giannotti is a talented guy. And I don't mind Boomer. But when they get into the Francesa talk, it's so horrible. I mean, every little shot he could take. And Francesa has never taken a shot at the morning show. He doesn't even acknowledge their existence. The only time that he does is when they really, really are hitting him hard. And he hits back. Did you see Boomer and Gio's face? And Al Hughes and Eddie Scazzeri's face when Francesa called in that day and defended himself in the morning show? They looked like they shit bricks. And Francesa should have done that more often. I mean, it's horrible. And first off, if I'm Chernoff, I'd be like, morons. I mean, you can tell if they're getting satisfaction of Kay beating Francesa. And I'm sorry, if I'm a program director and my morning show is taking great joy in the afternoon show losing to a rival competitor radio station, I mean, I lose it on them. Enough's enough. Team player. Now, Francesa's brought it on himself. Francesa has not been, how would you say it, coming across kindly. But you got to respect the career that he's had. And when guys like the morning show and Andrew Marchant, when they just crap on Francesa and his career, it's comical. Because they wish they had his career. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. But in closing, it'll be an interesting listen tomorrow. When I get off from work, I'll probably be able to listen to the last 2 hours of the program. And I'll listen to it. And listen, it'll be the end of an era with Francesa leaving Afternoon Drive. But so from what I can gather, he'll be going on radio.com and doing some sports and politics, and also from what I can gather, he'll be doing a 6 to 6:30 show. There's still a lot of unknowns here, and that's the trouble for WFAN, is that there are a lot of unknowns. Francesa's having his last show tomorrow, and we don't know nothing after that of what's going to happen. All we know is that Francesa will have a presence on radio.com, and he'll still have a presence on FAN. Other than that, other than who's taking over the show, and if Francesa will be on 5 days a week from 6 to 6:30, we have no clue. Absolutely no clue. And that spells trouble for WFAN. In closing, again, Francesa really shouldn't have never came back. And, I mean, he ended it so great the first time he walked away. It was just, he ended it so good. The send-off was perfect. He had the big show. He had the reunion with Russo. It's been tough, but it's been a hell of a career for the big guy, and for all the great years. Thank you, Mike. And in closing, I will say this: the comment he made to Neil Best of Newsday about Funhouse, and just dismissing him and calling him a joke. Funhouse posts the clips up of the Francesa show, and it's Francesa saying stuff that's on his show. He said it. It's nothing that he's doctoring. He said it, and I thought that was a little bit comical. It made Mike look bad, and I really didn't get the whole talking with Neil Best and Newsday, and there was no reason to do the interview. He came across as a little bit more bitter after that interview. He went after Russo. He started to give credit to Kay, and then he just went off again about it. I mean, listen, Mike, you lost. So, I mean, you're going to have to give them credit. There's no walking around it. They're going to beat you. So you might as well just be humble for once and give him the credit. With that, he does that, it remains to be seen. It won't be on WFAN. Maybe if he says something on radio.com or something. I don't know. But and just attacking Russo, and Russo's right. I mean, he should have never came back. But was it worth it for Entercom? I don't know. Was it worth it for WFAN? I don't know. Was it worth it for Mike Francesa? I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think he would have been better off going somewhere else, doing some stuff part-time, or just staying off, and possibly maybe doing his own thing, because it just didn't end well. But in terms of Funhouse, I follow the guy on Twitter. He's amazing. And Francesa really had a resurgence from Twitter, from Mongo Nation, and from all of the crazy accounts out there. So if I was Francesa, I'd be giving Funhouse a whole lot of credit, because I think accounts like Funhouse kind of made the younger crowd kind of get into, maybe not get into Francesa, but listen to Francesa. But it'll be a weird send-off tomorrow because it's goodbye number 2, and we'll see what happens. Back after this.